Fine. So we discussed about what basic of data card, what's data card and how it's working, or what are the different important say components of the data card, including the redo shipping, redo apply, or log transport as well as log apply. And also we discussed about the primary database as well as the standby database. Now, on today's session, we'll be seeing what are the changes or how to configure our primary database to become the part of a data card environment. Okay. So as we know that on the in a data card environment, we must have a primary database that is mandatory, and we must have at least one physical or logical standby database, and the standby database can be a combination of the physical and logical standby database. Fine. Yeah. So to configure the primary database for the data card environment, the first thing is that we need to have force logging enabled on them. Then we should set up certain parameters of the database instance, and then we should configure the standby redo log files, and then we will be backing up our primary database and then going ahead with the creation of the standby control file. So we'll be seeing one by one what are these activities. Okay. So the first thing is that your primary database should be running on the arclog mode. Okay. And most of the production databases will be running on the arclog mode. So these steps, whatever we are discussing now, is required only if your primary database in the non-arclog mode. So to convert a database from non-arclog mode to arclog mode, we should shut down the database, bring up the own stage, and then issue the command alter database arclog. So by giving the archive log list command, we can find out whether our primary database in the whether any database is in the arclog mode or not. Also, we can view from the $v database, that is select log underscore mode from $v database. That also will be displaying whether the database is in the arclog mode or not. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the next one is that one of the most important parameters on the primary database is enabling the force logging. So what is force logging? Or what is a logging operation in the database? So we know that whenever an commit or whenever an update or DML or DDL is taking place, Oracle will be recording that transaction on the redo log files. Okay. So when this recording is taking place, it's always a time-consuming as well as the resource-consuming activity. So Oracle is giving an option to disable the logging for a particular transaction. For example, whenever you are doing a bulk data load to a table, and that means like millions of records you are inserting. So at that time, if you are enabling logging, definitely the logging itself is going to take a lot of time. So Oracle is telling that giving an option like we can disable the no, or we can specify no logging options whenever you are doing a DML operation, or maybe whenever you are creating a table, or whenever you are creating an index, you can create the no logging option. Okay. So, but the advantage with the no logging option is that your database insertions will go much faster. But the drawback is that the database will become unrecoverable for the transaction. The transaction will not be recorded in the redo log files, and since it is not there in the redo log files, Oracle will not be able to recover that particular transaction. And another drawback on the data guard environment is that this redo information is required for Oracle to reapply the changes on the standby database and bring the standby database in consistent with that of the primary database.
Okay.
Okay. So now the drawback, now that means a development team or developer has inserted some records using the no logging option. That transactions will not be available on the standby database. Okay. So what happens is that whenever you are, if you want to recover the database, or if you wanted to fail over or switch over to that database, that will not be happening. Fine. So since this is affecting the data guard activity, Oracle is giving another option like force logging. So when you're giving the force logging, whether you can force logging as well as the, whenever if you're enabling the force logging, then it will be getting more precedence than that of the database level force logging. Sorry, it will be more giving more precedence than that of the no-logging options. Also, the database level force logging will get more power than that of the table space level no-logging options. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Ranjit? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, Vimal. Yeah, it's okay.
Ranjit, is that fine? Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. So we can enable the force logging by giving the command alter database force logging. Okay, and we can select the whether the database is force log enabled or not by viewing the $v database, that is select force underscore logging from $v database. Is that fine?
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is that we need to have a password file. So what is the use of the password file?
For voice
Somebody can
authentication.
answer. For OS level authentication, or not only the OS level authentication, it's authenticating the user or the sys users to connect to a database instance remotely. Okay. Say, for example, whenever you are connecting to a database with the sysdb privilege, that privilege should be authenticated before it is not really getting authenticated at the database level. Instead, it's not getting at the authenticated at the database level, but it is getting at the password file. Okay. So the password file will be containing the password of the user who got the sysdb privilege. Okay, and what is the importance of that that type of logging? Why it is required in the data guard environment is that, say, the data guard data in the say if you're looking at the physical standby, the standby database will be always in the mount stage.
Yeah.
That means Oracle cannot access any of the data dictionary views like db_usage to verify the password, right? So but at the same time, it should allow the user to connect to the target to the standby database also. Then only Oracle can push the redo information from the primary to the standby database. So due to that, we must have a password file so that the connection to the database with the sysdb privilege will work without any issue.
Okay.
Okay, and the point to be noted on this case is that the password file should be created on the primary, and the password file format is aura pw sid, and the location where the password file should be there, it will be the oracle home/dbs directory. Okay, so you create the password file from the primary and then copy that password file to the standby and then rename that password file with the SID name of the standby. For example, in our rack in our data guard configuration, we have the our primary database instance is prime and the standby database instance is stand. So what we have to do is that from the primary database we create a password file, that is by giving the command aura pw file equal to aura pw prime, password equal to oracle, entries equal to 5 and force is equal to y. So what happens there, we are going to create a password file with the name aura pw prime. So if you're looking at the syntax, the password file name is aura pw, then the SID name of the instance. Okay, the same thing, if you want to configure our standby database, what we'll do that, we'll copy this password file and rename aura pw prime to aura pw stand, assuming stand is the instance of the stand is a SID of the standby instance name.
Okay.
Then the next
Got it.
Vivek, tell me.
Yeah, aura pwd file equal to aura pw prime name.
Yeah.
And password is oracle. And what is this entries and force?
Entries and force. Entries equal to 5 means up to 5 different users password file can be kept in the password file. For example, if you want to grant another user called say Wysheid with the sysdb privilege, that Wysheid user's password also can be stored on the password file.
Okay.
The password file can store the password of all the users who got the sysdba privilege.
Okay. And what is
Force is equal to y means if there is a password file, then override that password file.
Sorry?
Override the existing password file.
Okay. 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 Okay.
Fine?
Okay.
Well, I have doubt in entries parameter. If entry is more than 5 means we can't means if I entries I have given the 5 and we can't access the remote users as a SSD base more than 5, or is it the rule, or
Yeah,
whether it
you will
will
not be
allow or
able
not?
to. It will not be allowing the, say, you created the 5 users, okay, and assume that you have granted the sixth user with the sysdba privilege. So it will not allow the 6th user to connect to it.
Okay.
It will not allow the 6th user with the sysdba privilege. It will tell that the password file is created with the maximum of 5 users, so the 6th user will not be allowed to grant the sysdba privilege.
Okay. Okay.
That means it's a simple that you will be having only 5 users with the sysdba privilege on your system.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Is that fine?
Yeah.
Or any yeah, whatever the questions are asked, we'll clarify and we'll go ahead.
Yeah. One more
Because
thing.
this is
Yeah. For password file means means I have the rough idea. Means whether there is any restriction that this many blocks it has to, means this many bytes it has to occupy, like that one.
no. Password file is a mechanism allowing us to connect to a database remotely with the sysdba privilege.
Okay.
Okay, say normally the sysdba privilege is actually authenticated by the OS level authentication. Like means, say you will be connecting to the server with the sys as sysdba or slash as sysdba. At that time, it's OS level authentication is taking place. So normally sysdba privilege, sysdba activities has to be done from that machine only. But in the case of rack, what happens? In the case of data guard, what happens then? The primary and the standby should be communicating with each other with the sysdba privilege. Why the sysdba privilege is required? It has to modify the control file, and also the standby database will be always in the mount stage only. So Oracle don't have an option to authenticate the other users.
Okay.
So both the communication should be taken as a sysdba privilege.
Okay.
Okay. There is number of bytes. There is no restriction on the number of bytes. Oracle internally stores the username and the password of the sysdba users.
Okay.
And also in most of the cases, there is no reason that is required. You have more than 5 users as with the sysdba privilege. That means it is internally what is happening is that you are creating 5 super users on your database, which is again a security risk. Right? Did I clarify your questions or still doubts is there?
Yeah, it is clarified.
Okay. Now the next one is that say we have as of now what we have did is that we enabled the archiving. If your database is not running on SP file, I would say that you better create an SP file and bring up the database under that SP file, because with the SP file you can manage many of the data card related parameters without a database shutdown or without a database restart basically. Okay, so you are familiar with how to create an SP file. So just create an SP file from P file. Fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So these are the which are the important parameters. Okay. The important parameters at the database level. We will be going through each of this one in detail. They are log_archive_config, which decide that which are the databases involved on this data guard configuration. Okay. Second one is that DB unique name. A unique name, a unique database name which identifies uniquely each database in the environment. In your environment, you cannot have more than one database with the same DB unique name. Yeah. And log archive destination N will specify that how the read was transported, from which node to which node it's transported, who is doing, which background process is doing the transporting. Everything is decided by the log underscore archive underscore dest underscore N. Okay. The next one is log underscore archive underscore dest underscore state underscore N, which decides that should Oracle push the redo information to that location or not. For example, if you're telling that log underscore archive underscore dest underscore state underscore 2 equal to defer, means Oracle will not push the redo information to the destination specified on the log underscore archive underscore destination underscore 2 path. Okay, when I'm taking an example, it will be more clear. So the other two parameters are DB underscore file underscore name underscore convert, as well as log underscore file underscore name underscore convert, which converts the primary database file names into the standbase location. Okay, we'll take an example and we'll be going through that when we are going through to these parameters more detail. The next one is standby file management. It controls how the standby files are being created, whether the standby files are created automatically or whether the standby log files are files are created manually or not. And the next one is that log archive underscore lag underscore target. When you're setting this parameter, it is not mandatory to set this parameter, but when you're setting this parameter to a number of seconds value, then Oracle will force a log switch when the number of seconds are reached. Say for example, if you are telling that log underscore archive underscore archive underscore lag underscore target is equal to 1,800 seconds, it means that after every 1,800 seconds, it will do a log switch. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is that log underscore archive underscore trace. It trace the redo transmission. If you are that is really required when you're having some delay on your log shipping, or maybe from the primary logs are not shipped to the standby database. If you are facing these kind of issues, then you can enable the tracing so that you can get more additional information, which will help you to solve this issue. Fine.
Yeah.
We'll go to the next parameters are file underscore server and file underscore client. Okay, so file underscore server, mainly these two parameters are required on the standby database. Why this is required is that suppose there is a gap between the primary and the standby. Say maybe the primary database was pushing the redo, but the standby database was down due to some network issue, or it was not able to communicate with the standby. So that means there is a gap between the primary and the standby database. Now the primary has to be in sync with the primary database. So it also means that primary has to, or the standby has to get the missing redo information, the redo information which was not shipped into the primary database. So FL underscore server will tell the standby instance to which instance it should communicate to get the missing archive log files. Normally, it will be the name of your primary, or it will be the TNS entry of your primary instance. Is that clear? Ranjit?
Yeah, it is clear.
Are you sure?
Okay. Once again, I will explain you. I will repeat.
No,
I will repeat on.
Yeah, you can just explain to me.
If there is we have the primary database and standby database. If there is a communication because of some reasons, if there is no communication between the primary and standby database.
Okay.
And because of this one, standby database is lagging behind the primary. When the communication is when communication is established, after this one I am unable to explain. When communication is established,
so when communication is established, the standby should get the missing arclog files, right?
Yeah.
So to whom he should ask?
That's to the primary.
primary.
Either, if you want, say, it doesn't mean that it should always ask the primary. Okay. If, say, assume that there is a, assume that you have the three databases are there. That's one primary database and two standby databases are there. Okay. So the first standby database is kept very close to the primary instance, assuming that maybe on the same data center.
Okay.
So that there will not be any network communication failure or nothing will be happening. Okay. And in the primary database, what happens then? We'll be periodically taking the backup and we'll be deleting the arclog files. So what we can do is that for the second standby database, the FAL server, we can set as the first standby instance.
Okay.
Are you getting my point? So it doesn't mean that it should be always the primary instance, but most of the cases it will be the primary instance TNS entry. It also, the point to be noted is that it is a TNS entry. It is not the SID name. It is not the DB unique name. It is a TNS entry which are specific on your TNS names.org file.
Okay.
Is that clear?
This TNS part I am somewhat confusing.
Say, for the data guard to be working, you should have the TNS entry specified with the both sides with the TNS name of the primary as well as the TNS name of the standby.
Okay.
Okay. So for example, the TNS entry for my say in a simple example, my SID name for the primary is prime and the SID name for my standby is stand. Okay. But my TNS entry is prime TNS and my standby instance TNS is prime stand TNS. Okay. So in that case, on the standby instance, the FAL server should be assuming that there is no other database involved here, only primary and the standby. Okay. It will be FAL server will be prime TNS, the TNS entry of the primary instance.
Okay.
And FAL client will be the stand TNS because that is a TNS entry of the standby instance.
Okay. This parameter will be set on the both primary as well as standby.
Yeah, this has to be set on the both primary and the standby. Can you tell me why it is triggered on, say this parameter got significance only on the standby instance, but we are setting up this parameter on the standby instance also, sorry, on the primary instance also. Can you tell me why it is required?
Why? Because if failure had happened, means, tomorrow standby will be act as a primary. It's vice versa, like vice versa will happen.
So whenever you are doing a role reversal, maybe a controlled role reversal, there is a switch over or maybe a force fail over. Both the places are taking place. You should be able to the new standby instance should be able to communicate with the new primary instance and resolve the gap. So that means you don't have to make any changes on your environment if you have set the required parameters on both the primary and the standby. Dinesh?
Yeah,
Vivek?
got it.
Vivek?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, cool. Okay. The next one is that remote login password file equal to exclusive. If Oracle should allow us to connect to a database from a client side using the sysdba privilege, then the remote login password file should be either exclusive or shared. In most of the cases, the preferred one is the exclusive one. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we'll select the parameters one by one and go in detail. Okay. The first one is that log_archive_config. So the log_archive_config decides that which are the databases as a part of this data guard environment. That means the Oracle will not be considering any database for as a standby if the standby instance is not listed on the log_rk_config. Okay, so log_rk_config consists of the DB unique name of the primary and the standby databases, and this should be, the entry should be the same across all the primary and the standby instances. Okay, and the log_rk_config format is that log_rk_config equal to single quotes dg_config equal to the DB unique name of the primary, comma the DB unique name of the standby. For example, in our case, dg_config equal to brackets open prime, comma stand, where prime and stand is the DB unique name of your primary and the standby instance. Is that clear, or confusions there?
Yeah, it's clear.
How about Ranjit?
Yeah, it is clear.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, fine. Okay, so the additional, there can be some additional parameters on the log_rk_config. Send means it enables the database to send the redo information. Receive means it enables the standby database. It enables a database to receive the redo information. If you don't want to send to any particular particular database, then you can set the no send or no receive parameters to disable the sending and receiving of the redo. Say, for example, if you want there are assume that there are two standby databases in your configuration. For example, prime is my primary database, stand is a standby instance 1, and the stand 2 is a standby instance 2. So you don't want the standby instance for the standby instance 2 for the time being to receive the redo information from anybody. So you can say that log_rk_config equal to brackets open prime, comma stand, comma stand 2 space no receive. That means the standby instance 2 will not be receiving any redo from the primary.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Prime, stand 2, no receive, space, no receive. Okay,
No
okay.
receive. So that way you are making sure that the secondary instance is not going to receive any redo information, but you are able to, the primary instance is able to send the redo information, and the first standby is able to receive the redo information.
Okay. Then what is the use of standby if it is not receiving any?
Assume that like you have opened the standby database for reporting purpose.
Okay.
So till that reporting is completing, you may feel that you don't want the standby instance to receive any redo information, or else say there may be some activities happening on your standby server, so you don't want the primary to push the redo information to there. So you can just do this way.
Okay, and this parameter will be on the primary database.
It has to be on the primary as well as the standby database. The same settings should be there on the primary and the standby.
Okay.
Fine. And you can query the $dataguard_config view to get the DB unique name of DB unique name, which are the parts of your DataGuard configuration.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Yeah.
Vivek? Hello?
Hello?
Vivek, you there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello?
Okay. Yeah, fine. Okay. Now, DB unique name. DB unique name uniquely identify the primary and the standby database, and it is recommended to have the different name for the primary and the standby database, the DB unique name of the primary and the standby database. And on Oracle 11G onwards, it is mandatory that you should have the different DB unique name for your primary and the standby database. Okay, and also DB unique name will be specified when you are specifying your log transport modes, so that Oracle will be so when you are specifying the log transport mode with the DB unique name, Oracle will be making sure that you are not sending the redo information to any database which are not the part of your data guard configuration, because Oracle first mandates that you specify all the data guard, all the database belong to your data guard configuration on log_rk_config. So again, it mandates that you should be specifying the DB unique name when you are specifying your redo transport services. So that to cross-checking, Oracle makes sure that the redo information is not sent to some unauthorized clients. It makes sure that the data is always sent to the right place and there is no security risks involved there. Making sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now comes the most important parameter on the data guard setup, which decides to which location the redo information will be transported and who will be responsible for transferring the redo information. Okay, so there should be at least, for a data guard environment, there should be at least 2 entries for the log_rk_dest_n, where n can be from 1 to 9 in the case of 10G, or 1 to 31 in the case of Oracle 11G. Fine. So when you're specifying the destination, there should be 2. I mean, either of this one should be there. Either it should be of location or it should be a service. Location means the destination specified by that particular destination is a local destination. That means you are archiving to your local operating system file location. Make sense? Say for example, you just on the bottom where I have mentioned the 2 parameter, where in which log_rk_dest_1 equal to location equal to Oracle prime/arc. That means that is a local destination on the operating system where the primary database is running. Okay. When I'm specifying log_rk_service, it is to a remote database, and that means that should be containing, that particular service should be containing a TNS entry which will help us to connect to the remote instance.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Once again, can you repeat this one?
Yeah. Say log_rk destination _n. N stands for 1 to 9 in the case of Oracle 10G. Let's for the simplicity build that we have up to 1 to 9 is there. In that one, if you want a data guard environment, you should be specifying either at least 2 locations. In that one location, it is mandatory should have a keyword called location, and the other destination, it should have a keyword called service. Okay. When you're specifying the keyword called service means it is a remote database. So it is the destination of the standby instance or the TNS entry of the standby instance. When you are specifying the keyword location, that means you are specifying a local directory from the where the database is running.
Okay.
Okay. So if you are looking at the second example, where in which I am telling that log_rk_dest_1 equal to location equal to /Oracle prime/arc. That means this is my local destination and the logs file will be written to this location.
Okay.
Okay. When I'm specifying the other parameter, that is log_rk_dest_2 equal to service, it means that I am pushing the redo information to that service location, to that location which is resolved by that service or by that TNS entry.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Yeah.
Dinesh?
Yeah, it's clear. So while generating archive files, it will generate in both the places.
Yes, absolutely.
As well as
It will be it will be writing to the whenever the primary is doing a log switch, it will first write to the /Oracle prime/arc. Then it will push the redo information to the TNS entry resolved by the service value. Say for example, the stand must be pointing to some database, some standby database. So it will push the redo information to that standby database.
Whether it's copying through the OS level copy to the standby, or else the Oracle will write again the archive into that.
Yeah, it is the background process either as the log writer or DB writer. Sorry, either log writer or archiver is responsible for pushing the redo information from primary to standby. So,
Okay.
if you're looking in the first place, if you are specifying the explicitly, say in the case of Oracle 10G, the archiver is the default one who is pushing the redo information. In the case of Oracle 11G, log writer is the default one which is pushing the redo information from primary to standby. So if you are not explicitly specified the process which will be doing the redo shipping, it will take the default based on the version of the database. You got me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Vimal, I have one doubt here.
Yeah, sure.
If I'm not in the data guard environment, I'm just in my regular database. If I will give the destination 1 and destination 2, I can write the 2 archive files at the same time.
Not 2 archive files. Two location, the same archive file will be written to 2 locations. So suppose if you want a backup copy of the archive files, you can specify log underscore archive underscore dest underscore 1 and dest underscore 2 with the location parameter.
Okay. One more thing. We have discussed about the log miner in our previous class. Where is the log miner it will be useful? Now you are saying that log DB reader or archive process will write the
log miner is coming into picture on the logical standby. It is not coming into picture on the primary database. From the primary, either the log writer or archiver will push the redo information. Okay. On the standby, on the logical standby, once this is received on the logical standby, then the LSP process will initiate the process of conversion of will call the log miner and convert this redo information to SQL commands, and then SQL commands will execute it. That is happening at the standby instance, not at the primary instance.
Okay.
Well, I need difference for.
Sorry?
I need difference for archiver redo shipping and log writer redo shipping.
Say the difference is that who is doing what. Okay. If you're telling that archiver is the one who is doing the redo shipping, what happens then? Whenever a log switch is taking place, it will be first write into the destination which is specified as a location keyword. Okay. Once it is written completely, another archiver process will push the redo information from the primary to standby. Okay. On the standby, there is another background process known as a remote file server or RFS process, which will be receiving this redo information and hands over to the standby instance. Okay. And it will be written to the destination specified by the location keyword on the standby instance. Fine? See, that's the reason. There is one more parameter is there called valid underscore 4. Okay. So valid underscore 4 can take the different values, like it takes 2 values. First one is that what type of log files and on what role. Okay. So for example, log underscore archive underscore destination equal to valid for all log files and all roles. So what happens is then, if you specify like this, when this database is running on the primary database, it is a location where which the primary is archiving the redo information. That means whenever a log switch is taking place, primary will be writing the redo information to this location. Got it? Yeah. Now assume that this database is running on the standby instance or standby mode. So it has to read it has to receive the redo from the primary, right? And it has to write to some location on the standby. It will be writing to this location because we have specified that all log files and all roles. Is that clear?
Yeah. If it's log writer shipping means log writer will directly do this process.
Yes, log writer will be at the same time. Say log writer is writing to the online redo log files, right? The same time it is writing to the online redo log files. It will be pushing this redo information again to the RFS process on the standby instance.
Oh, then it will be writing in the standby redo log, online redo log.
Yeah, standby redo log files on the standby.
Oh,
correct.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. So when the standby, in our case, whenever the standby is doing a log switch, it will be writing to the location specified by log underscore archive underscore dest equal to location is equal to where all log files and all roles are specified.
Got it.
Ranjit, is that clear?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, tell me.
No, means by using the log RFS process, it is writing to the standby database, but it is in the logical data. It is it will be logical standby database. Then it means, or it will be the.
No, it doesn't mean that it's a logical standby database.
Uh-huh.
It means that, say, if once the redo information received, then only I mean somebody can apply it, right? Either the
Yeah.
MRP or the LSP has to, if they have to apply, then the first thing is the redo information should reach the standby instance,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So who is doing that activity? Who is pushing the redo information? It can be either the log writer or the archiver. Okay. If log writer is writing, and if you have the standby redo log files are there, then it will be writing to the standby redo log files first. And once the standby redo log files are filled up, it will be archiving to the destination specified by the location keyword. And from there, the media recovery process or LSP process will be able to take, depends upon what kind of database you are having.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Yeah. Yeah. Clear.
Okay, fine. So, yeah.
If
Vivek.
if for the definition 1, if I change the role all underscore rows to primary one only,
Okay.
what will happen?
If you're specifying the log underscore archive equal to all underscore log file, but primary role. Okay. What happens then? This database will be this. In that case, this destination is valid only when the primary is then the database running on the primary role. So as long as the database is running on the primary role, it will be the log archive destination. I mean, it will be the destination where the archlog files will be created. But when you do a switchover, when you do a role reversal, at that time, this destination cannot be used for the standby, because you have clearly mentioned that this can be used only by the primary role.
Okay.
So redo shipping, the primary, that time primary is pushing the redo information to this database. This database has to archive the redo information, but it don't have a space, because you have clearly mentioned that this requires only when it is in the primary role.
Okay.
Is that clear for everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So I'm proceeding. Okay. Now, again coming to the specifying the role-based destination. So whenever you are specifying a keyword, you can specify why we are doing the role-based destination. Then we are making sure that even after a role reversal, you don't have to make any changes on the database, and you are making sure that you are not overwriting some destination or log files on some destination without knowledge. So if you are specifying that database role is primary role, then that particular parameter, either the log archive destination 1 or 2, whatever it be, it is valid only when the database running on the primary role. And if you're telling that log underscore archive destination is equal to all the roles, it means that this destination is valid irrespective of the database role.
Okay.
Is that fine? Yeah. The same thing is applicable for redo underscore log underscore type also. If you want the destination to be used only by the archiving of the standby redo log files, then you can specify the standby log files. And if you want a destination to be valid only for the online redo log files, you can specify the online log files. For example, if you're looking at this log underscore archive underscore dest underscore 2, we want the redo information to be shipped to the TNS entry resolved by stand, and this has to be happen only for the online redo log files. So we are specifying that online log files and when the database is running on the primary role. So that means when the role reversal is taking place, Oracle will not be considering this destination.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Simple?
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you go back?
Okay.
In the log destination 2, we give primary role for valid for. Okay.
Right.
So when this database stand is not on a primary role,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm confused with it.
Say log underscore destination underscore 2 is first thing is that it is a service entry.
Yes.
That means this destination will be used for pushing the redo information to the standby instance.
Exactly.
Okay. And what is our standby instance? It is an instance which is resolved by the TNS entry stand.
Yeah.
Okay. So when this shipping should be taking place, on which role? The answer is that this destination should be used only when the database is running on the primary role. That
But
means the database on
but this database is on
the database parameters, right?
Okay. When my primary database or in primary role, then only this it will ship the log file on this service entry, TNS entry.
Yes.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you are not set the assume that this is set to all underscore log files and all underscore role. Okay. So what happens is that assume that this is a logical standby database. So what happens then? Logical standby database also will do the log shipping. I mean, also will do the archiving. Archiving, right? Yeah. So what happens is that it will try to write to the standby instance, which is resolved by the keyword stand, which is nothing but self. Okay.
Right.
So it will be there is a chance that it will unknowingly overwrite on the archiving files. So to avoid that, we are making sure that the destination is based on the role of the database.
Yeah. I mean, it will transport the redo log files if the database is in primary role.
That's correct. Is that clear for everyone?
Okay.
Ranjit?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. It's clear.
Yeah. Okay. And also there is a redo transport mode is also there, which can be specified there. That is one mode is that sync and async. That means when you're setting sync mode, the redo informations are transmitted in synchronized mode. That means the network IO operations are taking place synchronously, one after another. Asynchronous mode mode doesn't guarantee that the packets are moved in the synchronized manner. So if you want maximum protection or maximum availability database, where which whatever the data committed on the primary will be available on the standby. In that case, you should mention that the redo transport mode is synchronized, where in which Oracle can guarantee that once the last packet reach, it means that all the previous packets is also reached there. But if you're going with the asynchronous mode, it doesn't mean that when it reaches the last parameter or last packet, the first packet is already reached or not. So if you're going with a configuration where the maximum protection or maximum availability is there, you must use the synchronized log transport mode. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Dinesh?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. The next one is that affirm or no affirm. It means that when the parameter affirm is set, then the primary makes sure that, or the log writer, basically this got significance when you're using the log writer. Log writer will make sure that it gets a communication back telling that the data is returned to the standby. So which is that is max. Yeah, it's a kind of acknowledging, which is required for the standby to confirm that the data is protected. When you're telling the maximum protected environment, it means that the data, whatever the committed data on the primary, will be available on the standby. So what happens internally is that the log writer first write to the standby instance. It will wait for a confirmation or get an acknowledgement from the primary that it's been returned. Sorry, acknowledgement from the standby that it has been returned to the standby. Okay. Then it writes to the primary and commit it. So that way, it makes sure that whatever the committed data is on the primary is available on the standby also.
Okay.
Fine. So for the maximum protection modes, you should maximum protection as well as maximum availability. The mandatory thing is that your database the redo transport should be done by the log writer process, and synchronous mode should be set, and you should have enabled FM option. Fine.
By using which parameter will set that fine and sync async means log
The same
archive.
thing. The log underscore RQ underscore dest underscore state itself. Dest underscore parameter itself. There itself you can give additional space and give no affirm sync, or you can say that sync affirm, like that you can put.
Okay.
Fine. Yeah. This is just an example or a more explanation of that.